Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 123, Tryptophan Hangover. I hope everyone had an enjoyable and safe Thanksgiving. As usual, this week we have news from the alternative football world to share. In addition, AF1's Wilkes-Barre football head coach, Shawn Liotta, joins the show to discuss the team's developments and more. But first, we have those football developments to cover. So, let's get to it.
Did you hear the news? Did you hear the news?
On November 25th, Indoor Football League's Massachusetts Pirates announced the return of Amir Ismail as head coach for the 2025 season. Ismail led the Pirates to an 11-5 record during the 2018 season and was named the National Arena League Coach of the Year. On November 2nd, Canadian Football League's Edmonton Elks officially named Mark Kalim as their head coach. On November 3rd, Professional Arena Independent Association announced the Peach State Cats as a member for the 2025 season. Also on December 3rd, Harrisburg Stampede president Justin Cole announced on the team's social media platforms the organization's decision to cease operations effective immediately. The post mentioned the current business environment being no longer feasible to continue operations. Cole cited the rising cost and the challenging environment makes it impossible to continue a viable business. The decision leaves the National Arena League with 10 members for the 2025 season. The league released a press release acknowledging Harrisburg Stampede's decision, and the league is working on a schedule adjustments and will release an adjusted schedule as soon as possible. Also on December 3rd, International Football Alliance's Baltimore Lightning announced Robert Ford as the team's new director of football operation and associate head coach. Ford is a three-time Super Bowl champion as a member of the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff. In addition to his collegiate and National Football League coaching experience, his resume also includes alternative football stints with the USFL Houston Gamblers in 1985, fan-controlled football's Wild Aces in 2021, and XFL's Orlando Guardians in 2023. On December 5th, International Football Alliance's Baltimore Lightning announced the addition of Wes Chandler as a senior advisor. As I have previously mentioned, we will now be joined by AF1's Wilkes-Barre football head coach, Shawn Liotta, to discuss team developments and more. Welcome, Shawn. I appreciate you taking the time to appear on the show to discuss your role as head coach of Wilkes-Barre football.
Oh, I'm fired up. I really appreciate you, Michael, giving me the opportunity to come on. Really fired up to get going here in Wilkes-Barre, and we're looking forward to the 2025 season.
Oh, I can only imagine. You know, we're living in this time of an abundance of football. You know, that alternative spring space has always been a kind of a volatile situation, but we have a lot of leagues, whether it's arena, indoor, outdoor now. It's just, there's a lot going on. So it's kind of a feast moment for us. So I can only imagine how exciting it is for you because, you know, it makes the competition a little bit more, right? To get players and stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, but I think any football at the professional level, when it's done right and it's done professionally, is good for players. It's good for the game. You know, I don't look at it as a healthy competition. I look at it as opportunities for players and coaches, which I think this is all about. You know, I've been fortunate, been involved in arena indoor football for now 17 years. And, for me, it's a great avenue. I've seen it. I mean, we can get more into that, but I've seen it give players vehicles that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And I'm very happy with Arena Football One. I think Arena Football One, the future is very bright there. Very impressed. That's what drew me into this opportunity, was what I believe the direction of Arena Football One is under the leadership of guys like Jerry Kurz and Gary Compton, all of that. So I'm very excited to be a part of it. I think big things are on the horizon.
Well, Shawn, let's rewind a little bit, right? Because I'm newer into the arena indoor space. I was really a show dedicated to the XFL before it, merged with the, USFL to turn into the United Football League. So why don't we just rewind here, because some of my listeners may not be as in tune to who you are. So let's kind of go back and build this. Shawn, you have a coaching career that literally includes 2 decades of high school. I think more than 2 decades of coaching high school, 2 seasons of collegiate ball. This is all per my research, and nearly a decade of professional arena indoor football experience. So predominantly you've been in the Pennsylvania area, pardon me, as well as you even have a book out there, No Huddle, No Mercy. So, I mean, like, you've been in this space of coaching, and you talk about opportunity. So that's really important. So for those who are not aware of you, can you take a moment to kind of discuss how your career brought you to the opportunity? You mentioned this AF1 opportunity's got you pretty excited, with AF1 and Wilkes-Barre football.
Sure. Well, so I've been fortunate, like you said. I've been in this game now over 25 years. I've coached at all levels. I was a high school head coach at age 23, which is kind of, most people aren't in that situation. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know when you're 23, but that was a great experience. I coached at the Division I level at Duquesne University for several seasons there. And I got involved. They put a team, an indoor team, into Pittsburgh in 2007. We were called the Pittsburgh River Rats. And they hired me to be the coach of that franchise when they brought it in. And that franchise ended up getting sold and moving to Erie, Pennsylvania. And I moved with the franchise, and I spent the rest of my career in Erie. We won several championships, set a bunch of records, had players go NFL, CFL, all that kind of stuff. And it was just a really good deal. And, I became I guess you call it a arena football, indoor football lifer. I did spend 1 year in Wheeling, West Virginia, enjoyed that as well. That was a little different in between my Erie stints, because the most important thing with any arena or indoor franchise, I think, you see, is the ownership, right? I think you want to. I was blessed that I was able to, for most of my career, work with very stable ownership that was committed to the community and committed to doing the right things. And that's what has me so excited about Wilkes-Barre. Matt Rowland, our owner there, is extremely committed to the community. And I think he's going to really do a great job of having a great product there for our fans. So I'm really, really fired up to work for him. But after I was in Erie, the team in 2015, after the 2015 season, so 2016, closed operations. So, ceased operations. And the crazy thing is, one day I was, and I went back to coaching high school football, became a head coach again at a school, but I would miss the arena stuff. And I would have teams, and I still do up until this point. I have teams call me every year, and I'd have people reach out or would you come here and be the head coach? Are you interested? Would you come here and be my offensive coordinator? Stuff like that. But I'll be honest, I'm a Western Pennsylvania guy. I'm pretty stable with what I've got going on. I'm married. I have a 14-year-old daughter now. So for me to go to New Mexico or some of these, outpost, kind of towns, not really something that was ever kind of in the cards for me. So I kind of just sat out and, stopped coaching, arena football at that point. And I saw something that really intrigued me. And there was a group of individuals. They had a company called Project Franchise, and their idea was they wanted to basically crowdsource a team in the indoor football league. And they really didn't have much of a background in football, but they were great businessmen, great entrepreneurs, very high tech. And just on a whim, I reached out to the CEO, Saurabh Farudi, and said, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I think it's a great idea. Here's who I am." And we instantly connected. And he said, "Hey, we really need help, on the football end of this thing. Would you be willing to do it?" So, this was way back in 2016. So we got to talking, and I was one of the first employees of Project Franchise, is what it was called at the time, which became Fan Controlled Football. And, so we had a team in the IFL for a year, and that really didn't work because, the idea behind it was, the technology there were significant investments made in Salt Lake City to make the technology work. But when you would go on the road and play your games, the technology wouldn't work. And the idea behind fan controlled football, for those not abreast of what we did, was it essentially gave all the decisions to the fans. Power to the fans was the slogan, and the fans called the plays, and the fans picked the players, and the fans hired the head coaches. I remember we did head coaching interviews for Salt Lake, and the fans actually voted on and hired, the coach. And, it was a really fun situation. And through the years, we continued with this. Now, the team in Salt Lake was only there for a year, and then we had a team in Colorado that was only fan run to an extent. But after that, it merged into a league of its own. And I was the director of coaching for the league. I basically helped shape a lot of the play calling technology and that end of it, and was ended up the head coach in the league as well. Hired all the coaches for the league the 2 years, and it was something that was just really, really good. And we had a lot of really talented players play for us. Johnny Manziel, Terrell Owens, Martavis Bryant. There was the league up and down was loaded with players. But back to your point about how this is an opportunity for players, we had open workouts. We had to bring in, we had 180 some players in the league. So it was, we had 8 teams. So it was a pretty big undertaking. So we had to find us a lot of players. So we went out and we did open camps all over the country and used our connections and recruited guys. So when you say to me, you have a challenge here because maybe you're a little bit behind in terms of getting hired and getting this franchise rolling and having to get players, that's not a problem at all. Believe me, finding players, getting players is not a problem. I can go get 35 players. I'm not worried about that. We went out and got 180 pretty good ones before, so that's not a concern. But the opportunity part, we had a tryout in Atlanta, and there was a young man by the name of Quantez Stiggers. He had an issue where his father tragically passed away while he was in college, and he ended up not going to college. It was over COVID. And, what ended up happening there was his mom, he was working, washing vehicles and stuff. And his mom said, "Hey, look, why don't you go to this tryout? See his pro football thing. Give us a shot, man. It could be something for you." So he came. No one knew who Quantez Stiggers was. Quantez Stiggers came to our workout, open workout, ran well. We signed him. We said, "Hey, you got no experience. He had no college experience, right out of high school, 19-year-old kid." We said, "Look, we're going to give you a shot. Let's see what you can do." He comes into training camp, and our coaching staff, we had probably a dozen former NFL coaches, guys that were defensive coordinators in the NFL and, high-level guys. And they kept saying to me, they said, "Coach," because we'd always talk about who's the best play, who looks the best. And the DB coaches said Stiggers should be playing in the league. And we kind of, first time he said that, I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, I'm thinking, all right, well, a couple of these guys were older guys. So I'm kind of like, is he all right? Is he still with us here? But it kept saying that you kept hearing the same thing. "Coach, Stiggers can play. Stiggers should be playing in the NFL." They're not talking about the FCS. They said this kid can play in the NFL. Sure enough, he comes into our league, gets film, because that is critical. A lot of these guys want to sit on the couch. If you're sitting on the couch, your clock is ticking. You are not playing in the NFL. You're not playing in the CFL. I hate to tell you. They want to know what you're doing. That's why arena leagues and indoor leagues and the IFA and all these other leagues, that UFL, those are critical jumping off points for guys to continue that dream, continue their career. And this is the best example. He gets signed in the CFL, which he never would have gotten signed in the CFL if he didn't play in our league. Gets signed in the CFL. He goes up there, dominates, does great, drafted in the NFL this past year. I mean, how amazing is that? From coming to a tryout, an open tryout that he paid money to attend in Atlanta, Georgia, to getting drafted by the New York Jets. Now, you tell me that the dream of alternative league football isn't real, because that's 100%. That is 1,000% what it's all about. Okay. So it's about opportunity, and that's kind of what draws me, to being involved in these leagues. I think Arena Football One is a great vehicle for guys to keep their dream alive, to grow their career, whether they're having a nice career playing arena football or they decide to use it as a vehicle, because anything we do in life is what we put into it, right? That's what we're going to get out of it. So, and that's what I tell guys when I sign them, because we sign a bunch of talented guys all the time that don't end up making it. I mean, I've cut guys that were first team all Big 12, guys that were in the NFL, that were in my camps. And guess what? They weren't, at the end of the day, they weren't on the best 24 for our final roster. Where you've been means nothing. Okay. And that's another thing. It's like, what you have done is irrelevant. It's what you're doing right now. So if you're trying to advance your career, it's all about what are you doing currently? Like what is your are you treating your body right? Are you working out? Do you have the right kind of people around you? All of that I think helps a guy when they're trying to get to that next level. And I'm just so glad this has been a vehicle, for guys to be able to do that. And hopefully we hope to continue that in Wilkes-Barre. And our first year in the FCF, we had a guy, Cavante Turpin. You ever heard of him? He played for us. Top kick
For the
returner.
Cowboys.
Top kick returner in the NFL right now. Pro bowler, I believe.
Yeah.
Turpin played in our league. I mean, think about that. That's crazy, right? I mean, but again, he needed the opportunity. He
Right,
didn't
so
have.
Turpin is a
Mhm.
very interesting individual because
Mhm.
we talk about opportunity football. It's funny because I
Sure.
refer to on this show as alternative and opportunity football. That's
Sure.
how I discuss. So I'm glad that you're talking about because Turpin's a very interesting.
Mhm.
FCS,
Mhm.
the European League of
Mhm.
Football,
Mhm.
in the USFL, he played,
USFL. Mhm.
all before leveraging all of that to get
Mhm.
with the Cowboys. And now you're
Absolutely.
talking. So, and it's not just he had a shot in preseason, in camp or something. He made the roster. He has stuck more than one season, and he's making a difference.
Yeah,
So, no,
absolutely.
it is big. I have a lot of players that reach out to try to get on this platform or asking for advice one way or another. And I'm always telling them, dude, you gotta find something that works for you. Be sitting on the couch, isn't it? So I'm glad that you're saying that, Coach. I don't want to cut you off, but I know I try to keep the show within a certain
Listen,
time frame. So I know.
I could talk forever, so you need to cut me
Okay.
off. I can tell you that. So it's your show. I'm gonna follow your direction here.
Well, I just try to be mindful of the time that I usually tell people that we're going to be on here for, and then
And I
not run.
appreciate that. And I appreciate that because I do have a league coaches conference call
Okay.
here coming up in a little bit.
So, so
I
I don't
do
want
appreciate that.
I don't
Yeah,
want you to miss that or be the
no
reason
problem.
why you're late
I'll get
anyway.
fined. I'll get fined. I don't want to. My
Okay.
wife wouldn't like if I got fined. I don't want to do that.
We're
Yeah.
not going to do that to you. So, I mean, we'll just kind of speed ahead. So, approximately 2 weeks ago, you were
Mhm.
announced as the head coach in
Mhm.
Wilkes-Barre.
Mhm.
And, we know that things don't happen. It's not like you just signed that day. You had your
Sure.
interview the day before. Sometimes people are in the role a little bit before the announcement gets done
Sure.
officially. So how long have you been in your role to kind of start getting some pieces
Sure.
moving? Because, we've
Sure.
seen a lot of other teams have been announcing players and stuff. So, you said it's not hard to get players, but you've probably been in your role. So how long have you been in a role and whatnot?
Well, we just got, I've had discussions with them over the past, several weeks, and it's like anything else. It's a vetting process on both sides. And, you want to make sure that it's a great fit. And after talking to, Matt Rowland, very, very, he sold me on the vision he has for Wilkes-Barre and for this franchise, and I knew that was something I wanted to be a part of. So we were able to come together on something pretty quick. And I know that my thing is, I worked with Jerry Kurz previously. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jerry Kurz, one of the founders of Arena Football. And Jerry is the CEO of the league. And Jerry and I worked together in fan control football. So I worked closely with Jerry for a while. And if Jerry is putting his name on something, and Jerry is part of building it and bringing back the prominence of arena football, I want to be a part of it. So really, I'll be honest with you, I was drawn to this opportunity by Jerry Kurz and by his leadership and by what I believe, his vision for bringing arena football back to prominence. And, I want to be a part of it. And then the second part of it for me, honestly, Wilkes-Barre is a tremendous market for arena football. It really is. I mean, they had extremely successful teams during that Arena Football 2 run from, up there until 2009. And, really the reason the team left, a lot of times when teams leave, it's, there's reasons and things like that or whatever. It certainly wasn't attendance or support or sponsorship. It was simply the Arena Football League came back. And one of the owners of the AF2 team ended up going and becoming an owner of the Philadelphia Soul eventually, right? So there are, kind of different reasons as to why that team went away. And I can tell you from just the initial outreach that we have from players, fans, sponsors, people want to be a part of arena football in Wilkes-Barre. And that's what I'm excited about. I think there's a big market for it. People are clamoring for, I know our owner has planned, to announce the name. He wanted the community to name the team. That's something I think that's great. I know season tickets, fans want to get into that, and that's all coming. That's all coming down the pipe. We're going to have a local workout coming up as well for find those diamonds in the rough. And those certainly exist. Believe me, like I said, I've lived it. I've seen it. I don't go off of just a name on a piece of paper when somebody sends me, video and film and things. And let me plug that as well. For anyone that's interested in joining our franchise, want to be evaluated. We actually have a website, Play, PLAY, the number 4, okay, play4wb.com. And if you go on there, you'll be able to submit your information. It'll go directly to me. I evaluate everybody that comes through there, and there'll be information there on upcoming workouts and things like that as well that we'll have planned.
So obviously you're still in the early launch mode of this, right? I mean, it's not a knock. It's not anything. Everyone's got to start someplace, got to walk or crawl, walk, run, so to speak, right? So we see that several other AF1 teams have been announcing players, as I've alluded to. I don't expect you to make any exclusive announcements today, so please, Coach, don't do that. But how far along do you think you are in the talent evaluation, even though you're still in the middle of it? And when can people start to anticipate maybe a player or two to be announced?
Oh, very soon. We've already got some contracts back already, so I spoke to probably 300 players last week alone. So this is not this is what it is. Right. It's a process. It's rolling and hey, we have our work cut out for us. Believe me, we are in a difficult conference. I have a lot of respect for the teams that are in our conference. We're kind of in, I guess you'd call it the blue blood conference of the arena, of arena football. We've got all the stalwarts in there. You've got the Albany Firebirds that were in a championship last year. Phenomenal organization. They've got great talent. They're killing it, this year out there. You've got the Nashville Cats. All right. Again, another team that they'll have an excellent coach. They're going to get really, really good players. And then you got the Orlando Predators, man. I mean, you hear Orlando Predators, you think arena football. At least I do. I think that in Disneyland. My wife and daughter love Disneyland. So I think of both of those things, honestly. But I'm excited. It's going to be hard. We're going to compete. But, the deal is, our goal was to bring a championship here, to Northeast Pennsylvania. And the process of that is you got to have good players. That's the number one thing. You got to have good players. If you don't have good players, I don't care how good of a arena coach you are, you're not going to win. So we are going to go out and find the best players that we can. I also have an affinity, and this has always served me well in all of my coaching positions, to get local talent. I put an emphasis on as many guys as local we can get. I'd love to. So guys in that area that have played college football or from the area, we certainly are evaluating them. And, we want to hear from them because as much local flavor as we can get in the mix, I think it's going to be better for us from a lot of standpoints, business standpoint, community support standpoint. I had guys I was always proud of this. Like when I was in Erie, I'd have guys that would come in and they'd be from all over the country, right? We got a guy from Hawaii come one time. So we never saw snow before in his life. So guys would get off the plane in Erie and there's 36 inches of snow on the ground, kind of just packed up, and their mind is blown. And guess what? They'd come into that community and they become positive ambassadors for our franchise in the community. They end up staying in the community. I mean, we have countless guys I can name you from all over the country who are stalwarts of the Erie, Pennsylvania community now. Coaches, teachers, you have started families, all that kind of stuff, and they would have never came to Erie, Pennsylvania if it wasn't for indoor football. So, we hope to do the same. We hope to bring some guys in and they'll fall in love with the area because it's obviously a great area, great market. And, we just want to be positive ambassadors for arena football in the community as well, because that's critical. And that's one of the things, I'll be honest, that drew me to fan controlled football, initially. I think sometimes we get lost as coaches in the fact that arena football, indoor football is a business. I mean, it is. It's a business. It's minor league sports. It's a business. You have to approach it as that. And you also have to approach it as, why should someone want to spend their hard-earned money on your product? Like, what are you going to give them as a product? So we want to give a winning product. We want to give an exciting product. We want to light the scoreboard up. We want to fly around, play hard-hitting defense. But the atmosphere of attending one of our games has to be like no other, and I fully believe our staff here and our owner, Matt, he's done his career is in boxing promotion. So he's extensively promoted tons of boxing events over his decades, in the business. So he understands how to promote. He understands how to do ticketing. He gets all of that. He's going to get people in the doors. We got to get them entertained. We got to keep them entertained. We got to make it an event. We have to have something for everybody. And that's something I always think arena football has. Arena football truly is one of the only sports I think that has something for everybody. You have affordable family pricing. You have events going on all game long for kids. This whole thing's about kids. Like, where else can you come after the game and bring your kids down on the field and they can get autographs and all of that? So you've got the fact that you are literally, I don't care what sporting event it is. There is no other sporting event you are that close to the action. I mean, you're really not. I mean, you get, the old saying, if a football comes in the stands, you get to keep it. If the player comes in the stands, you got to throw him back. Arena football used that for decades, and it's true. I mean, you are right. You, particularly if you're in that lower bowl, you are right on top of the action. There's nothing else like it. The intimacy of it, and the fan engagement. You're going to talk to players. The players will talk to you. You can have conversations, good and bad. With our players and harass the other team's players. Hopefully, make it a hard place for them to play. And as a coach, you interact with the fans. I mean, there's been times at games I'd say to a fan, what do you want, a pass or a run? Something like that. You know what I mean? Let them kind of even call a play, and they look at you kind of crazy, and you're like, oh, come on, let me know. What do you know what I mean? And because that's what it's about. It's about the fan interaction. It's about the fan engagement. Our product will be our best selling point. I promise you that. Like, and that's the other kind of knock on arena or indoor football over the years, right? They say it's not a TV product, right? They say it's it doesn't translate as well to when you're sitting at home watching it on the big screen. And I kind of do agree with that in some aspects, because I'll tell you what, no one there'd be people I'd run into in the community and they'd say, Coach, you guys have a pro football team here? I've never heard of it, or that's amazing. And I say, I'll tell you what, what's your name? I'll put some tickets at the box office for you. Come on down and check out the game. Bring your family. How many you need? So I'd give this family 4 tickets, right? They would come up to me after the game and say, Coach, I'm buying season tickets. Like, my kids love this. My family loved it. Like, this was awesome. Like, this is nothing like it. And they would say, I've watched it on TV. And they say, I didn't think, but being here and it's like I'm part of the game. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's really, it's amazing. There's no game like it. There's no, the whole intimacy of it. You're never such a part of the action and so close to the action as you are in arena football.
All right, Coach. You got approximately 15 weeks, right, before AF1 kicks off its 2025 season. I understand we're in the middle of holidays. Just had Thanksgiving. We
Sure.
have, the gambit here in December. We have New Year's coming, right? So there's plenty of obstacles, right, while you're trying to do whatever. Okay. But what does the calendar look like after the first of the year? Do you have team workouts that you're doing for players? What are you looking at for your camp or training? Any preseason games? Do you have any of that kind of? I mean, I don't know if you have it right in front of you, but
Well,
I mean,
I
what can
can
we
tell
expect?
you. So our report date is going to be February 21st. That's the first league, the first league date. 22nd is the first day we can actually practice. So, we'll bring all our guys in the day before for orientation and things like that, physicals, medical, stuff like that. But, no, we won't be able to do, unfortunately, any team activities prior to the start of the league calendar. And then we get ready for the home opener there, the second week in March. And we know it's going to be a challenge. Nashville coming in, and we're looking forward to a divisional matchup right out of the gate. But starting in right now really is a recruiting process. We are evaluating, trying to get the best talent that we can in here. For the franchise, and we'll have stay tuned for some open workouts. We're going to have there's talk of a league combine that we're going to be having there in January, and we're going to have our own open workout as well in January. So we're looking forward to that because a lot of times, I'll be honest, guys won't have, and it's not a knock on it, but a lot of times guys might have like semi-pro tape and things like that, and for anybody that knocks that kind of stuff, listen, I have seen some absolute studs come out of those leagues. There are guys that played at a really high level that just want to keep playing, and they play for these semi-pro league. Probably the best known guy that went from a semi-pro team to the NFL is, I don't know if you remember Eric Swan with the Cardinals back in the 90s. Eric Swan came right out of a semi-pro league to the NFL. So it does happen. It's hard to evaluate the tape though, because you don't know. There's not like a standard because you're not as familiar league to league. Some of those leagues are really, really good, right? Like really, really good. And some of them are not as good. So you kind of don't know the standard of what you're looking at. So guys like that, you need to evaluate. I always like to see quarterbacks throw live. If it's not a guy that I've really seen or a known guy, I kind of like to see him throw live. I think that's pretty standard. Even offensive linemen, I like to work them out. I like to more see their flexibility and how they bend and how they move, and not so much how they block. We know they can, block. We're not. It's not non-contact, workouts. But it's more seeing what kind of shape a guy's in. Because I can't tell you. I mean, we need to know. And this is where it gets back to my point of guys who go years without playing. You have to work out then. I mean, we can't, we have to see you, and they're not money makers. We don't run these tryouts to pocket tryout fees. Believe me, it's more of a hassle for us to set them up and run them than for some tryout fees. That's not the reason that anybody does it. It's to find players. If we're having a workout, we are looking for players. We are giving you an honest opportunity to be that diamond in the rough. So again, if you are interested, go to play4wb.com, shoot your information over, and we'll look forward to evaluating you or inviting you to our workout.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of irritates me a little bit when I hear like teams are doing money grabs. This is stigmas that people put on teams or leagues. And I'm thinking, if I am interested in a job, right, I got to pay my own way to get there.
Sure.
Right? And whether I'm driving, whether I'm flying, whatever I'm doing, if it takes a hotel, whatever. I mean, I understand I'm not paying, but I'm like, sometimes you have to invest in the opportunity that you want.
Yeah, and it's more so to weed out people who aren't serious about it, to be perfectly honest with you, because we did one in the FCF. We had a combine where we did not charge. And there were hundreds of people that showed up. And there were even hundreds more that registered. but it created a logistical nightmare because when you register, we get all your data, we assign you a number, we assign you a group. Like our tryouts are run very professionally. This is not a just show up at some park and we're going to have a workout and see what happens. We are very regimented with how we do things in professional, the same way, because we expect that. If you're going to come give us your time to work out, we are going to treat you as a professional. We're going to give you a professional experience. Okay. So the point of it is, if you're not serious, if $50 or whatever you pay to try, you know what I mean? Like, it's, to me, if you're not serious about doing that, you're not serious about your craft, and you're not serious about, because it's not to make money. We don't do these things to make money, believe me.
All right. I mean, if you're not charging something and I'm sitting here scrolling on my phone, sitting on my couch, with a bag of chips or something, and I'm like, oh, hey, they got a free tryout here in a couple days. I'm just going to enter it. You're not invested into the point. You're just going to show up. But are you in shape? Hey,
Sure.
Are you? Yeah. Again, so like, I get it. I just, when players hear that, sometimes they're like, oh, it's a money grab. It's not
because there are bad, unfortunately, believe me, there are black eyes and bruises all over this game and the outdoor game. I'll be honest as well. There's been leagues there was that league a couple years ago that they have a bunch of tryouts and they never played.
Major League Football. I remember they brought some guys into camp, but they barely was a week or two and they got stuck. I get it. I understand the concerns, but I hate it when people don't take the opportunity that's legitimate in front of them. So that's why, I hope those that are tuning in, listen and realize that don't discredit everything just because it has a fee to it. It's
absolutely, and the opportunity's real. That's the thing. You're talking. These are real life opportunities here. This is not a fantasy thing. This is not semi-pro. This is opportunity to really advance your career.
All right, Coach. So I'll ask you one last thing here.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's so regimented in an interview but sometimes there's something that a coach or player or something has that they think is very important to get out there. So here's your opportunity, your soapbox. So you can kind of discuss whatever you think is vastly unknown, whatever you think is the most important thing to know, about whether it's the way that you coach, your philosophy, whether it's something tied to the organization, whether it's the league, whatever it is. Here's your soapbox. I'll let you have that moment.
Sure. And again, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on here and talk to you today. Love to do it anytime. Appreciate what you do for alternative sports, so to speak, and to get the name out there. I love all your jerseys behind you. We're gonna have to get you a Wilkes-Barre jersey or helmet to put back there for sure. But for me, it's opportunity, right? So for me, this is a tremendous opportunity, to coach in the Arena Football One, where I believe there's great leadership here. You're talking Jeff Fisher, our commissioner, Jerry Kurz, the CEO, Jared Widman, our president, Gary Compton, director of football operations. Just from top to bottom, this is first class. And, we're proud to be a part of it. I think our ownership group is great. Matt Rowland is a promoter. He gets it. He's from the area. He's spent time in the area. He's passionate about it. He's passionate about Northeast Pennsylvania. I think we're all committed to the same goal of bringing a championship product to our fans. And I look forward to that journey. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be a process. And that process begins with identification and evaluation of players. So, stay tuned for the process as we work through it, and opportunities. So when we have an opportunity for an open workout, there's probably only going to be one of them that's truly our open workout. So you're going to want to make sure that you get to that and, take advantage of that. And again, if any players are interested, the website for that, there's a specific portal for that. It's play4wb.com. So please go there, submit your information, and I personally evaluate. Now, I'll be honest, I had hundreds of them come in last week, hundreds. It's taken me a while. I'm still working through, and there's only so many hours in a day, and I want to give everyone a true evaluation. Look at their film and take a look at the overall person as well, what we're talking about, and I will definitely get in touch with every single person that goes through there. And there may be some guys we say, look, we want to see you at a workout, and there may be some we just sign, right off of the evaluation. But again, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a whirlwind couple weeks, but I'm excited to keep barreling on towards our goal of winning that first game at home.
You do have a lot to do. So I appreciate your time. It has been a pleasure to have you appear on the show to discuss Wilkes-Barre football, AF1. And, I'll try not to interrupt the team building that you have, in the next couple months. But maybe once the season kicks off, or maybe even after it concludes, maybe we can have you come back and discuss AF1 and Wilkes-Barre football again.
Absolutely. I would love to. You might not recognize me though. I might have the beard shaved off then. My wife said I got to look more professional for it. So I'm going to have to shave it off, I guess. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I have the other problem. I continue to shave, and my wife asked me to keep at least a goatee. But hey, it's weird, isn't it? What women want.
It is, sure. And no, she doesn't care one way or the other. She just said you got to look more professional. Shave that beard off. So
okay.
My on.
Well, before I let you go, I know you put out the website for players. Is there anything else, maybe your own personal social media, team social media accounts that those tuning in could check out?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge social media guy. But I am on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And it's just my name, Shawn Liotta, ShawnLiotta. You can go right on there, follow me. I'll make sure, I'll get engaged with that as we roll through. And, I'll make sure I post updates there and keep people abreast of all the latest comings and goings with our franchise. But look for team name information soon, look for season ticket information soon, and also open tryout information.
All right, perfect. Well, good luck on the upcoming season as you move forward, and happy holidays, Shawn.
You too. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Having Shawn grace the show during a pivotal time in Wilkes-Barre football's launch to provide those tuning in his background and a glimpse of where the organization is and its plan in the lead up to Arena Football 1's inaugural season is a real treat. Wilkes-Barre has a lot to unveil in the coming weeks and months. So keep an eye out for the team's official branding as well as player and coaching staff announcements. Moving forward, I'm going to incorporate an additional segment into the show. Whether you are a fan or a player, I will try to highlight league and team upcoming events. I acknowledge this could be a hit or miss segment, so depending on what the immediate weeks may have scheduled, it could be a little dicey. There may be a feast and famine sort of situation. On December 8th, Professional Arena Independent Association's South Carolina Ravens will conduct a tryout at Lake Marion High School in Santee, South Carolina from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. local time. Registration is at 8 a.m. with a day of $150 fee or a $110 early registration fee. Players can visit scravensfb.com to pre-register. On December 10th, the United Football League's Houston Roughnecks will host a happy holiday hour at Pitch 25 on Walker Street in Houston, Texas, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. local time. On January 5th, the International Football Alliance's Tampa Tornadoes will conduct its final tryout in Tampa, Florida, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. local time. Registration is at 9 a.m. with a $75 cash-only fee to participate. On January 18th, the International Football Alliance will host its official combine in Dallas, Texas. Players interested in participating need to register at ifa.football/draft-tryout. On January 25th, the Professional Arena Independent Association will hold its live player draft at Core Steakhouse in Atlanta, Georgia. That concludes another episode of Player 54 Podcast. So I want to thank everyone who has tuned in this week, and I look forward to having you all back next week for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%, Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.